Hello, dear listeners, and welcome back to Book Summary 5, the 5-Minute Summary channel. I'm Sammy, your host, and today we're diving into A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. This groundbreaking book offers an alternative perspective on U.S. history, focusing on the experiences of marginalized groups such as Native Americans, African Americans, women, laborers, and others who have often been overlooked in traditional historical narratives. Zinn's approach shifts the spotlight from political leaders and elites to the struggles and resilience of everyday people. Let's explore the key themes and events so you'll feel like you've read it cover to cover. At the heart of A People's History of the United States is Zinn's belief that history is not neutral, but is often written by and for the powerful. His goal is to challenge the dominant narratives that glorify conquest, expansion, and exceptionalism, and instead tell the story from the perspective of those who were oppressed or exploited in the name of progress. Zinn begins the book with the arrival of Christopher Columbus in 1492, not as a tale of discovery, but as the beginning of violent colonization that decimated indigenous populations. Zinn argues that much of U.S. history has been driven by the pursuit of wealth and power at the expense of the poor and marginalized. He highlights how slavery and the genocide of Native Americans were central to the founding of the United States, and how the struggles of these groups have often been ignored or minimized in traditional histories. For example, Zinn emphasizes that the American Revolution was largely driven by economic interests and did little to benefit the poor, women, or slaves, whose lives remained largely unchanged despite the rhetoric of freedom. One of the major themes in the book is the idea that change comes from the bottom up. Zinn emphasizes the role of grassroots movements in pushing for social and political change. From the labor strikes of the 19th century to the civil rights movement of the 20th century, Zinn shows that ordinary people have consistently fought for justice, often in the face of violent repression by those in power. His accounts of these movements highlight the sacrifices made by activists and organizers, and he challenges the notion that progress has come from enlightened leaders or politicians. Zinn also addresses the economic inequalities that have persisted throughout U.S. history. He details how the rise of capitalism led to the exploitation of workers, both in factories and on plantations, and how the wealth generated by their labor was concentrated in the hands of a small elite. Zinn draws attention to the struggles of labor movements in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, such as the Pullman strike and the rise of unions, which sought to challenge the power of industrialists and secure better wages and working conditions for workers. Another key topic is the role of the U.S. government in perpetuating inequality and oppression. Zinn argues that many of the nation's wars, including the Mexican-American War and the Vietnam War, were fought not for noble causes, but to expand U.S. economic and political interests. He critiques U.S. imperialism and the ways in which the government has used military power to protect corporate interests, often at the expense of democracy and human rights both at home and abroad. In addition to economic and political critiques, Zinn also focuses on the struggles for racial and gender equality. He covers the abolitionist movement, the fight for women's suffrage, and the battles against segregation and racial discrimination. Zinn argues that while these movements have made significant strides, the fight for true equality is ongoing, as systemic racism and sexism continue to affect marginalized communities. One of the most powerful aspects of A People's History of the United States is its focus on resistance. Zinn highlights the courage of individuals who have stood up against injustice, often at great personal risk. Whether it's the Native Americans who resisted displacement, the abolitionists who fought to end slavery, or the civil rights activists who challenged Jim Crow laws, Zinn shows that the fight for justice has always been led by people willing to defy the status quo. Zinn concludes the book by reminding readers that history is still being made. He encourages people to learn from the past and to continue fighting for a more just and equitable society. The stories of resistance, resilience, and struggle are not just historical lessons, but calls to action for future generations to challenge injustice and work toward a better world. In summary, A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn offers a powerful re-examination of U.S. history from the perspective of the oppressed and marginalized. By focusing on the struggles for justice and equality, Zinn challenges the traditional narrative of American exceptionalism and highlights the role of ordinary people in shaping history. This book is essential for anyone looking to understand the deeper complexities of U.S. history and the ongoing fight for justice. Thank you for tuning in to Book Summary 5. If you enjoyed this summary, please subscribe, like, and share it with your friends. Until next time, happy reading!